What is up, people? Welcome to the latest Sports Frenzy 2.0. I am the maestro, Kevin Crane.
I am the conquistador, Dave Height.
Please forgive me, if things get a little sloppy here. I am dealing with a certain physical ailment. No, stop laughing. It has nothing to do with having to have a blue pill or anything like that. Although we did just see Mandy Rose on TV a few minutes ago.
No blue pill
necessary.
necessary.
No blue pill needed for that. But so we're going to do shorter segments this week to give me some relief. So
back issues, aren't they wonderful?
Yeah, it looks like a herniated disc, so cannot sit or stand for too long. But I'm a fighter, even though the conquistador has seen me at my worst, crying like a little baby over the pain. So we'll get through it. We promised you every Thursday morning, and God damn it, if we can do it, we're going to give it to you.
That's right.
So we're here on May the 25th, 2022. I almost said 2022. What's the big problem with that?
2022, 2022. It's the same thing.
I'm telling you, it's the back. It's causing me issues already. No. So we're going to start off with a big hot debate. Dave and I are going to argue. Yes. Usually he and I about 90% of the time are copacetic. But I think we have an issue coming up here in baseball, which we're going to start off with, that is going to set us at odds. Possibly, not maybe 100%, but we'll see.
One never knows.
Yeah, not much to talk about in baseball this week. Again, the teams you'd expect, outside of maybe the White Sox, to be in the playoff right now as of today, are in.
They are.
Dodgers, Padres, Giants, Brewers, Cardinals, Mets in the NL, Yankees, Blue Jays, Rays, Twins is the one.
That's the goofy.
And then the Astros.
And then the Angels, surprisingly, are playing out their asses with everybody healthy for once.
Yeah, I was going to say, they don't surprise me that much just because they should be this good.
They should. What's the surprise is they're healthy.
Yeah. So, getting to the anomaly, which, Dave and I thought that the White Sox would dominate a weak AL Central. Right now, they're 21-21. They are in second place. The Twins just lost here a few minutes ago. So I believe they're only 5 back.
Yeah.
Plenty of time to make up that ground.
They can, but, God, there's no consistency at the plate. As I've lamented over and over, they cannot hit the damn ball. And they've got no room for errors. They've got no room for pitching snafus, which the bullpen has had a number of. And then as we taped last night, the Red Sox teed off on Dylan Cease, 7 runs in 3 innings, and it got worse from there.
Yeah, and a couple of our panelists picked Cease to be the AL Cy Young winner, I believe.
Yeah, and he was looking pretty good for it up until last night. So, I don't know. I had expected things to turn around coming out of New York after the big kerfuffle between Donaldson and Anderson, which we'll get to, but that seemed to rally the Sox a little bit together, and they swept the Sunday doubleheader.
Yeah, great. My pick last week was the Yankees. So I went from possibly having a great week to ended up getting a mediocre week out of the Yankees, but still better than those fucking Dodgers.
They screw you any chance they get.
They do. Well, let's talk about it. The Yankees, White Sox situation with Josh Donaldson and Tim Anderson. Of course, Tony La Russa had to inject himself into the situation, turn it probably into something more than it needed to be, but...
Yeah, but that kind of surprised me that he went there defending Anderson to the extent that he did, because Tony's usually not one to do much on that.
Well, I know the teammates, a lot of Anderson's teammates came to his side, and not many Yankee players.
No Yankee players defended Donaldson.
Right, some of the fans did, but...
Not even the manager, Boone, didn't even defend Donaldson.
But here's my issue with the whole thing. Number one, I don't think it deserved a suspension. And number two, Tim Anderson sometimes creates his own problems. I think it's very arrogant and thoughtless of him, even though it was an interview from 2 or 3 years ago, to basically say, I'm going to be the new Jackie Robinson. To me, that's blasphemy. That is baseball blasphemy.
I did not like that.
That's where I wanted Will Smith to appear out of the stands and slap him and say, you keep Jackie Robinson's name out your damn mouth.
So, no, I had issues with him trying to compare himself back at the time. But at the same time, Donaldson is kind of one of those douchebag players who is on his 5th team in 5 years.
Oh, absolutely agree with that. Absolutely agree. Donaldson is a troublemaker. When the Yankees brought him in the trade with Minnesota, they had to clear the air with Garrett Cole because Donaldson had been the one last year about the spider attack.
Sniping at it.
Yeah.
Cole. Yeah, Donaldson does not make any friends, and
No,
he'll take cheap shots. And
was it a stupid comment? Yes. I don't believe that's a racist comment. I do not.
No, it would have been fine if it had been a one-off, but he kept going, repeating it throughout the game.
Right.
And he didn't know when to leave well enough alone.
Right. But again, La Russa comes out and says it's a racist comment. I don't believe that.
I don't agree with it being a racist comment.
If it'd been a white guy on another team that they were playing who'd compared himself to Babe Ruth, he probably would have said, "Hey, Babe, how you doing? Hey, Babe."
Yeah.
I don't think it was racist.
No, but he was just being an asshole, trying to instigate.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, 100% he's being an asshole.
You know what? If he's going to be instigating, I'm well and good with the game suspension for trying to instigate stuff.
If you look at it that way, okay. I still don't think it was warranting any kind of suspension. But yes, if you want to look at it as trying to instigate something, not racist, okay, I can live with that a little bit more. Yeah, and the problem is he's just a jackass, and that doesn't help his cause.
No, he's a complete douchebag.
Yeah. But again, I know you guys, White Sox fans, love Tim Anderson, but sometimes as an outsider, he rubs me the wrong way.
He
really
can do that. He's got a little bit of an edge to him.
So
there are times where he needs to keep his mouth shut too. But that being said, throughout everything, he's continued to hit and perform.
And yeah, no, he's a great player on the field. I just think sometimes his mouth gets the better of him. But again, I'm on the outside looking in. See, I would like to think with my Cubs players, I didn't like Marcus Stroman. I did not like them signing Marcus Stroman. He's kept his mouth shut so far.
Yeah.
He hasn't really had much to talk about because he was on the COVID list for a while, and he's, I believe, 2-4 right now. He's pitching okay.
Starting to pitch a little better.
Right. But, I have no problem calling out the Cubs or their players for acting like douchebags. Now the Cubs are 18-24 right now, barely in third place in the NL Central. Always is a good healing tonic to play the Cincinnati Reds.
Yep, always a good thing.
So they've won the first 2 out of 4, playing the third tonight.
And Mr. Wisdom is on a nice little tear right now.
Yeah, but the thing with Wisdom is, it drives me nuts with him. It's either strikeout or home run for the most part. Now, luckily, right now it's more home run. And Schwindel, the other guy that came up to be a star for them, or play well at least, I should say, late last year, he's had a nice week too.
Yeah.
They've got pieces, but again,
there's nothing to put them all together.
Wisdom and Schwindel are not major league stars. They are good players.
They're bench players. They're guys
bottom of the batting order guys.
Yeah.
The Cubs refuse to spend money on superstars. And of course, another guy they just let go last year, Jock Peterson, went nuts last night. 3 home runs. He said it's because he talked to Barry Bonds. Jacked 3 home runs. I believe he had 8 RBIs.
Yeah, crazy night for
Yeah.
him.
And he's having a really, really good year. And again, another ex-Cub that does well the minute he gets out of Wrigley. And of course, he's got a ring to show for it from last year from the Braves.
Yep. Go figure.
Yep. Only other topic I've got for baseball this week is big injury for the Mets. This is really going to test Buck Showalter. Now we're going to find out really how great of a manager he is, because we know DeGrom's been out since the beginning of the season.
Yep.
They lost Tyler McGill, who started off the season really well. So they thought they might had a really solid, legitimate 4th starter behind DeGrom, Scherzer, and Bassett, who just got hammered last night. And now Scherzer strains his oblique. He is out 6 to 8 weeks. So now the pitching depth for the Mets.
That's going to be tested.
And it was tested today, too, because I saw the score today, and they put some rookie out there as a sacrificial lamb, and they were teeing off on him. I heard Longoria hit a couple home runs off of him, and yeah.
That's a throwaway game.
Yep. But we shall see if the Mets can hold on. The rest of that division, Braves are underperforming. Phillies, as always, are underperforming. And the Marlins are who they are, and the Nationals are so bad. Can't believe that they were champions just a few years ago. And they are pushing right now the Reds for the worst record in baseball.
I know, that's scary.
Why is Juan Soto going to want to re-sign with them? Why is Juan Soto going to want to stay there?
He won't.
They've got to give him some reason to stick around.
Why? They're going to save money. Jeez. That way they can move back up to Montreal.
No, they're not moving. The Rays are the ones that are probably going to move at some point. No, I think the Nats are safe where they are.
We'll see.
Yep. All right, kids, we're going to move on here. As I mentioned, quick segments this week, but we're going to talk NASCAR here, sandwich that in here with baseball because, of course, this past weekend was the All-Star race in Texas, and that means Dave and I start to close our eyes and think about napping.
We checked out and didn't even bother with it. Let's be honest.
Yep.
I'll give you races are not – they're not fun to watch. They used to be all right.
Well, again, this is something we'll bring up later on with the NFL too. We've talked about this in the past in general. The All-Star games, races, whatever, are not what they used to be because the players are disincentivized to really play hard.
Right.
Or in this case, I know they're racing hard because there's $1 million. There's $1 million
but $1 million
on the
bucks is not what it was 20 years ago.
Let's go, Brandon. Kyle Busch got the pole in what they were saying was a drag race style of qualifying, whatever that means.
Yeah, I don't know.
Again, this is the 1 week you're going to have to bear with us and give us a break because I've always said I don't care about all-star competitions. Ryan Blaney did win. There's some controversy about a late caution.
I don't know.
But again, we didn't watch it. Sorry. We're not trying to let you down. But again, I would have rather
relevant to the
hockey
weekend.
Playoffs, basketball playoffs are actually relevant for championships, real championships. So,
yeah, I was busy checking out a new brew pub in town.
Oh, of course you were. Rub it in. And if anybody cares, the All-Star Open, if you want a stage, you got in to the All-Star race itself. So Ricky Stenhouse, Chris Buescher, and Daniel Suarez all got in by winning stages. Eric Jones got in with the fan vote. So there you go.
Woohoo.
I do have one tidbit. I believe Dave has another one before we head on to our picks for the Coca-Cola. Again, the back pain is causing me to stammer like an idiot.
600 at Charlotte.
Yeah, so this is really going to make this fun for me to try to say this without having an issue. But my one little NASCAR tidbit for the week, I wasn't going to put it in the dumbasses because you're going to take the money for a sponsor wherever you can get it in NASCAR. So Cole Custer this weekend at Charlotte will be sponsored by Chicken Cock Whiskey. Don't ask me anymore. I just thought.
Let it ride.
Yeah, I just saw.
Insert your own personal jokes here.
Dave, don't say insert. Please. We just said chicken and cock. All right, bud. You have something about Gibbs and Kyle Busch for us?
Yeah. So Joe Gibbs has come out and made the announcement that they're close to having a sponsorship deal in place for the 18, and they're hoping to be able to negotiate a new contract for Kyle here. We'll see what happens.
Oh, you figured. I mean, he figures some sponsor was going to step up for that.
Yeah.
He's still one of the best drivers out there, so.
Maybe Pampers, because he can be such a baby.
Yeah, he goes from food that's normally eaten by kids to diaper wear. All right, as Dave mentioned, as I stammered like an idiot in pain, the Coca-Cola 600 from Charlotte this coming Memorial Day weekend. Races on the 29th, race 14, as we're starting the second half of the regular season. Of course, that means not too far in the future, we get NBC taking over coverage, which I hate with a passion.
No broadcasting clue.
Nope. 6 of the 8 panelists here at Sports Frenzy have got their picks in, and so far the 6 that we have are all Hendricks Motorsports Chevys. Now, Dave and I will have a little bit of strategy criticism here for the rest of our compadres.
Yes.
But
not that we blame them for making the pick, but
our game, our little contest, limits you to picking a driver 3 times in the regular season. So, with that being said, let's start off with the majority picks. 4 of the 6 panelists in so far. Sam, Bill, Doug, and Aaron are taking Chase Elliott. Not a bad pick, but Dave and I will always say, with a limit of 3 per driver, we save Chase Elliott for the road courses.
Yes, we do.
Especially since they've added on more road courses over the last year or two. So we're sticking with the Hendricks camp.
We are. I am going with Alex Bowman.
Good pick. I thought about him, and I'm going with William Byron.
I contemplated that one as well.
I haven't used him yet, so had plenty of
I am
wiggle
burning
room.
my last Bowman on this one.
So this is usually one of the better races of the year, although it is very, very long and will usually take us into the wee hours of Sunday night, Monday morning.
Yep.
Depending on cautions and weather.
Yeah, that extra 100 miles there, that's where the guys start to get tired and make errors. Engines can start to fall apart. So
and then
it's interesting. And then the whole track change from starting off in the high temperatures and then it cools off. Speeds increase as the temperatures go down. They get better grip, and that causes some issues as well.
And then I'm intrigued to see what happens next week with our panel. First time ever Worldwide Technology Raceway. So that'll be fun next week, kids. Check out our picks for that. But as I mentioned, we're shortening things up a bit here. First segment is over. We will be right back here on Sports Frenzy 2.0.
Stay tuned.
Feeling mildly fatigued? Need a day off, even if you just took one a few days ago? Make $30 million a year, but just don't want to work for it? You need to join the NBA Load Management Club right now. When they're not napping or texting, guest lecturers Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving will describe foolproof ways to earn tens of thousands of dollars by not doing anything. Sports Frenzy 2.0, available on Spotify, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Casts, and wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, is currently negotiating with LeBron James to bring his popular How to Make the Hall of Fame Without Really Trying webinar live and in person to the Load Management Club. Thanks again to Sports Frenzy 2.0 and all you apathetic fans out there for making us a success.
Hey kids, welcome back for segment 2 of Sports Frenzy 2.0. here as we tape on May 25th, dropping Thursday the 26th. I'm the Conquistador, Dave Height.
And I am the maestro, Kevin Crane.
All right. Keeping with the relevant sports going on this segment, NBA and NHL playoff updates for you to this point. So you want to take over with the NBA?
Yep, and I'll leave your expertise for the NHL. We're down to the Final Four in basketball. In the East, the Celtics and Heat are tied 2-2, Game 5 tonight. Been 4 ugly blowout games so far. This has not been a pretty playoffs for the the back pain is killing me. The NBA playoffs have not been nice. They have been boring. I heard somebody say today, if you haven't watched the first quarter, then why bother? Because that's the only time the games have been competitive is in the first quarter. I still think, I believe I said this a couple weeks back. I still think the Celtics are the best team in the East. I still believe they're going to beat the Heat.
They haven't shown that they want to.
Neither team has really shown it. And there's a lot of injuries on both sides. So we'll have to see how it plays out. Like I said, Game 5 tonight.
Yeah.
In the West, Golden State, a little bit of a stumbling block last night as the Mavericks avoided the sweep. Golden State, though, still up 3-1 on Dallas.
Yeah, I was surprised that Golden State laid an egg like that.
Yeah.
Trying to get the sweep, get the extra rest.
A lot of people are saying, though, this is going to be another one of those years, even though they had a couple off years because of injuries. The dynasty could be back. Everybody's saying, and again, apologies. I know we talked about not watching the NASCAR All-Star race. Obviously have not been indulging a ton in NBA playoff basketball either, but everybody's saying Golden State looks sharp. They look ready, and they'll probably destroy either Boston or Miami, whoever comes out of the East. Yeah. Now, this series at least has got a little bit of intrigue, as the Mavericks have been fined 3 times here in the playoffs for bench decorum violations. Because, of course, Mark Cuban is a little spoiled brat baby. And he's down there with his team, and they're crowding the court during the game.
Yeah, they're stepping on. They're being idiots.
So they have been fined through the playoffs so far in these 3 violations, $175,000 so far. Of course, that's chump change. It should keep
going up.
That's chump change for Mr. Shark Tank. But, and of course, the other thing was the tragedy in Texas yesterday. Of course, thoughts and prayers to every family down there. But of course, this sparks political debate, no real solutions. And of course, one of the 2 genius political minds in the NBA, along with Greg Popovich, is Steve Kerr. So Steve Kerr, of course, went on a tirade in the press conference in Game 4. I know it was emotional, and I know his father died due to gun violence, but what people always forget about that, he died overseas in gun violence. He did not die in America due to gun violence. I believe he was in Lebanon or Beirut.
Yeah, one of those places as part of a U.S. delegation.
So I can understand why gun violence is upsetting to him. And I'm not trying to advocate for one side or the other. I don't want to go there. I believe we have the right to bear arms, but of course, I also believe in the right to background checks, making sure parents are watching their goddamn teenage kids and making sure they're not stockpiling guns or posting threats on social media.
Gee, how about parents get off social media of their own and actually interact with their children and find out what the hell's going on in their lives? Take some damn responsibility for your kids, people. There's a whole lot of issues, and it's not just guns being there. There's a whole mental health issue that does not get taken care of in this country. Parents are the biggest damn problem by not being involved in their kids' lives.
And so once again, I sympathize with Steve Kerr, but he and Greg Popovich always come off when they get on the soapbox tirades like this when something happens politically that they don't like, and they just act so smug and so superior and act like you people are all stupid. Listen to me because I'm the smart man in the room. That's why I don't like Steve Kerr, even though I appreciate the passion and the ideas and the thoughts behind his rant last night. But he and Popovich need to stick to basketball. All right. When it comes to if they want to get involved in the community and work in their community or run for office, go for it. But I do not believe a press conference before or after an NBA game is the proper place. You're acting like Bruce Springsteen or Eddie Vedder at a concert, wasting our time when we want to be entertained and we want to watch sports, trying to bring your political views and your personal political feelings into a venue where it is not appropriate. I'm sorry, it's not.
Agreed completely on that.
So we will have
there's so much going on, you really can't break it down, but there's changes that need to be made.
Yeah, absolutely. Nobody, if anybody does not think there are changes that need to be made in the gun laws, then you're just as crazy as, the people that say ban all guns, because that's unrealistic too. But that's it for Sports Frenzy 2.0 Meet the Press this week. I shall pass things over to the Conquistador for the 7 teams left in the NHL playoffs.
Yep. So, as you mentioned, the Lightning have swept the Panthers out of the playoffs. They are looking like they're just going to run roughshod right now over whoever they get.
3 in a row they're looking at.
Yeah, very impressive. Rangers and the Hurricanes knotted it too, and there's a lot of bad blood going on there with cheap shots back and forth, so we'll see how that rolls out. Flames Oilers, more bad blood with Lucic hitting the Oilers goalie Smith with a cheap shot behind the net as Smith was trying to play the puck. Not a good look there. And then the Blues and the Avs. Avs are up 3-1. Kadari had a hat trick in the last win after getting racial threats, death threats for colliding with one of the Blues players into the Blues goalie Bennington, knocking him out for the rest of the series. So it's playoff hockey, kids. Things are getting physical. It happens.
Yeah, but I have to say I've watched more playoff hockey this year than I have in many, many, many years. So not watching all the games, not watching every game, but checking in every once in a while. So for me, that's an accomplishment.
The action's been pretty good.
I have watched more playoff hockey than I have playoff basketball.
Wow.
Yeah, something.
Impressive.
That says something. All right, couple other sports to discuss here as we wrap up our short segment 2. And then, of course, we'll cover the NFL and college football. Yes, the PGA Championship wrapped up this past weekend with another legendary choke job. Every once in a while, we get a Jean Van de Velde, and this year it was Mito Pereira, the young kid, choked away a sizable lead.
That was just a meltdown for the ages.
Yeah, the tee shot on 18 was just, he was hurried, he was rushed. It was a terrible shot, and it put him in trouble. And that ended up knocking him out of a potential playoff as Justin Thomas and Will Zalatoris lurked, tried to stick around. Justin Thomas played a really nice final round to get into the playoff. Both players played great in the playoff, which was nice to see. But Justin Thomas, a little bit better. He gets his second major championship.
Congratulations to him.
Yep. And then, of course, I will also say Rory McIlroy choked again because he had the lead. He had the lead after the first round, and then he faded back and really never, ever did anything.
Never got back.
He got into the top 10 at the end of the tournament, but he should have been in contention
the whole weekend.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then, of course,
Rory's, can we put him as overrated?
It's tough because he's got a lot of majors. I believe he's got 4. That's a lot of majors to be called overrated.
Yeah, but how many has he blown?
It's true. He could have been legendary if he'd come through on, like you said, half of the ones that he has played around with and been in contention with,
or
and never
took off to a decent lead and then flitted it away.
Right. Then, of course, Tiger, the body just, and I believe I know very well about this in some respects, the body just wouldn't cooperate. He had to withdraw after the 3rd round. He did make the cut, but yeah, that 3rd round was a disaster because of the pain he was in.
Yep. It's not quite ready yet.
Nope. Horse racing, the Preakness, early voting wins. Only 9 horses in the field?
That's a small field.
Yeah. That seemed a little...
That's a little light.
Yeah, only 9 horses in the field, early voting the winner. And then finally, the French Open has begun. Before that, though, big news from the WTA and the ATP. We've talked about the controversy with Wimbledon not allowing Russian and Croatian players in.
Right.
The ruling bodies of men's and women's tennis, WTA and ATP, have stripped this year's Wimbledon of impacting any of the world rankings in points.
Wow.
So you win Wimbledon, it will not help your ranking for the world rankings through the WTA or the ATP at all.
Wow.
So they make a strong stand. And I agree with them. You cannot hold individual players liable or accountable for what their country's doing. Right. You just can't.
You can't.
It's different.
That's not cool.
Going back to the Olympics, you can't. Russia cheated. There's a difference.
Right. That whole team is corrupt.
And they still found a loophole to let them in.
They created the loophole to let them in.
Yep. Finally, here to wrap up segment 2, sticking with tennis and the French Open, as I mentioned. One of our loyal listeners should probably tune out for the rest of this segment right now.
Oh, no.
We're going to talk about Naomi Osaka choking. Oh, she's not ready yet. She's rusty.
Oh, I thought she paid extra to have that done.
She got knocked out in the 1st round.
Oh, but that's because she spent so much time on her new sports agency and her Netflix and her Sports Illustrated.
Yep.
Focus on your job.
In a way, she's kind of like Rory in that she's got multiple majors, kind of hard to call her overrated. But of course, the circumstances are different in that her issues and the things that hold her back are off the court, and she creates her own problems 99% of the time.
Yep.
All right, kids, that's it for segment 2. We'll be right back with the NFL. And to satisfy that loyal listener who did not want to hear us talk about Naomi Osaka,
we challenged us, and we came through.
We will break down the NFL schedule. We will give you our best games of the 2022-23 schedule and our worst. So hang out, kids. We'll be right back. Are you having trouble falling asleep behind the wheel of your expensive SUV? Are you finding difficulty in avoiding golf clubs thrown at you by your angry wife as you pull out of the driveway? Sign up today for the Tiger Woods Driving School, sponsored by Sports Frenzy 2.0. We'll show you how to text ladies of the night while still driving effectively in the wee hours of the morning. We'll also teach you how to ditch a suspicious backpack when you end up driving into a ditch. Check out Sports Frenzy 2.0 on Spotify, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Casts, wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, for updates on our latest classes, including how to curse and swear in front of uptight golf fans and their children, and still be adored by millions. The Tiger Woods Driving School. It's great. Hey everybody, welcome back. Sports Frenzy 2.0, May the 25th, 2022. I'm the maestro, Kevin Crane.
I'm the conquistador, Dave Height.
Slogging it through here. Shorter segments than normal. NFL will be segment 3 this week. We'll get to our schedule breakdown as promised to one of our 3 loyal listeners.
Yeah.
But we've got to talk about some little odds and ends and tidbits in the NFL. And then after that, we do have a couple big stories in college football to talk about. Of course, on the Bears front, Nick Foles signs a 2-year deal with the Colts. Shocking.
Gee, there's the surprise from hell. I don't blame him for not trading. Wait until we released him and then get him done cheap.
It's smart business sense.
Yep. So, I don't know if that does anything. I don't think it helps us with the cap at all.
No, I don't think it does either.
But just get that money the hell off the books and move on.
Yep. NFL's talking about eliminating the Pro Bowl or replacing it with a skills competition.
Yep, eliminate the tackle game.
Yeah, flag football. Great.
Which, everybody keeps backing out of it. Nobody wants to get injured. Again, the all-star things, name them to it, be done with it. Don't bother trying to do this goofy-ass crap.
Yep, and I do understand the injury risk is more significant in football. So, but yeah, just like we talked about with the all-star race previously in this segment or in this episode in NASCAR, the all-star stuff just doesn't do it for me anymore.
No, it's The combine was up for bid to a number of cities. Indianapolis keeps it through 2023 and 2024. They have had it, since 87?
Yes. Yep. Correct.
So that's a hell of a run, and they seem to do it well.
Indianapolis, yes, we're biased, but Indianapolis is a great city. Indianapolis is a fantastic city. I don't think you can go wrong when you have major events there. Just me.
No.
Deshaun Watson will not go away. Of course, that's going to be with us for quite a while.
God.
Now, there were 2 of the accusers on Real Sports with Bryant Gumbel here who basically say the Browns contract, as we've said, is a big screw you to them.
Yep, it's a slap in the face to these women. And it's a screw job to the NFL. It's absolutely pathetic still that this guy can be such a douchebag to these women, and just because he can play a game gets that much damn money guaranteed.
Which I believe is what one of the women actually almost said.
To play a damn game.
Yep.
It's pathetic. As we've said over and over throughout the decades that we've done this show in every iteration, the chances that these guys get again and again.
Yep. And then, of course, a guy who will not get a second chance, unfortunately, Dwayne Haskins. And we just had a feeling something was going on with his death recently. Turns out he was extremely drunk at his time of death.
With other drugs in his system.
Just had a feeling. Just
the whole situation that was there. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you're in your right mind, you're not trying to cross a busy highway.
No.
You're just not. Unless you're Eddie Murphy and Bowfinger.
Not to make light of it.
No.
But
sometimes we do what we have to do on Sports Frenzy.
Just to cope.
Yep. Kyler Murray, of course, still being an asshole, will not show up, at least so far he hasn't, for Arizona's OTAs. And that's going to make Hard Knocks in season fun because they've got the Cardinals.
Yep. Oh man, that could be very interesting how that all plays out. Because if Kyler thinks he's going to get any kind of guaranteed money like Deshaun, he's got another thing coming.
He's going to have to do exactly what Baker Mayfield, what Lamar Jackson's going to have to do. You know, if you don't play well enough, you're not getting that extension. You got to be Josh Allen. You got to be Pat Mahomes. Yes, Pat Mahomes. Sorry, Mama Mahomes.
News out of Miami. Tyreek Hill is trying to play the good teammate, trying to voice his confidence in Tua being able to accurately throw to him. I'm still not buying it, but hey, kudos to him for trying.
He's being a good teammate. He's being a good teammate. Yep.
He's trying to fit in and do what needs to be done there.
Hopefully he will continue to be the good teammate.
Yeah.
Especially if Tua is not as accurate as everybody else thinks.
Yeah. I've got no confidence in Tua's arm.
Of course, the drama with the Washington Commanders. Every week it seems like something's going on. They're trying to force Dan Snyder out, supposedly, rumors are. But now they just pulled the Chicago Bears and dropped $100 million on a piece of land in Virginia.
Yep, not too far outside of Richmond, right off one of the major thoroughfares for easy access in and out. Enough room for a new stadium, hotels, a whole entertainment district with restaurants. Very interesting.
Yep. I've heard some backlash from Washington fans who don't like the fact that could potentially be putting a new stadium that far out.
Yeah.
But this is the world we live in now, kids. You better get used to it. Bears fans, same thing.
Yep. Gonna have to go to the suburbs down the line.
Yep.
Oh, who knows?
News out of Las Vegas today. Breaking news.
Breaking news. Wow. What are they thinking? Or is this just...
The Raiders are always going to court controversy. And the thing that I thought was an insult was I saw a story when this news broke. Go ahead and tell the people what we're talking about first.
The Raiders have invited Colin Kaepernick in for a workout to try and make the team. He's not played since 2016. He's 35 years old. Do they really think he's got anything to offer in a backup capacity?
I don't know. And the thing, like I said, that I saw on a sports show here recently after the news broke a few hours back, that there are certain guys that I have seen play in a backup role that I like, that I thought I'd love to see that guy play for my team. And I've always said that about Nick Mullins. And Nick Mullins is the backup right now to Derek Carr. And this sports show said, oh, look at this depth chart. They really need Colin Kaepernick. There's nothing wrong with Nick Mullins as a backup quarterback in this league. Why bring in the headache that Colin Kaepernick will be? Just don't get it.
I mean, it's not like Kaepernick was setting the world on fire. Yes, he helped get the Niners to the Super Bowl, but then he regressed from that point on.
And
there
plus,
was nothing there.
Plus, he's been inactive. Talk about Naomi Osaka being rusty. This guy's the freaking Tin Man without his can of oil.
Yeah. So we'll see. I'm not expecting
anything. It wouldn't shock me if they signed him, though.
No. Just as a make good. Kind of the Raiders screw you to the NFL.
Yep, which they're good at. They do that all the time.
So kind of getting back at them for running Chucky out of town?
Could be. I still haven't heard 100% for sure if they're really sad about that, though.
Yeah, I know. We'll wait and see. some changes to the hiring process for head coaches and quarterback coaches. So the Rooney Rule is now going to be in effect for quarterback coaches, where you have to interview at least one minority candidate. And for head coaching, prohibiting any interviews with somebody who is currently employed until after Wild Card Weekend.
All right. So there you go, kids. As we promised to a loyal listener, the schedule came out a couple weeks ago. We're going to run down real quick what we think are the best games on the schedule and the worst. Now, when I went through and I made some picks, I tried to stay away from divisional games like Bears, Lions,
right,
Giants, Commanders. So I tried to pick unique games.
Yeah, not what would be
Jacksonville.
obvious.
Yeah, Jacksonville Texans was an obvious one twice a year.
Yeah, that's a crap fest. But you want
those, of course, would be the worst games of the year.
Yeah. So we kind of looked at it, and
now I put these in chronological order. So first off, I've got 7 games that I listed as the best. Yes, there are going to be some repeating
teams,
yes,
because these are the teams that are going to be your Super Bowl favorites coming in.
Right. Starting September the 8th, the Bills at the Rams. October the 2nd, the Chiefs visit Tampa Bay. October the 16th, the Bills go to the Chiefs.
That's going to be a good one.
Yeah, that's a rematch of the playoff game from last year.
Yep. Then you got November 6th, the Rams at Tampa Bay. Again, your NFC Championship rematch. Then going to the 27th of November, again, the Rams at Kansas City. So following that up in December on the 18th, Bengals at Tampa. So we'll see what the Bengals have in store there. We'll see if that even holds up through the year.
Yep, and then finally late in the season, probably we'll decide division titles or playoff spots. The Bills go into Cincinnati to play the Bengals, January the 2nd. I thought those were, again,
those are the intriguing games.
Cross-division, cross-conference. Again, not picking Kansas City versus the Chargers or versus the Raiders, because that division's going to be holy hell.
Yeah.
Same thing with the Rams playing the 49ers. Didn't want to pick those easy type games.
Right. These are the ones these are the playoff teams you expect. These are the guys you expect to be fighting their lives to try to get to the Super Bowl.
Right. And of course, there will be some of these teams, 1 or 2, that'll probably choke and not perform as well as they did last year. And there's going to be some upstart. So
it's going to come out of nowhere. And
you have to base it on the most recent data you have, which is last season. So that's why you got a lot of Rams, a lot of Bucks, a lot of Bengals, a lot of Chiefs, and a lot of Bills.
Because let's face it, they were the top teams, and that's what you expect. And if they're facing off against each other, those are supposed to be the best games.
Yep, so now we flip the coin. The 5 worst games. As I mentioned, we cannot pick the 2 Jacksonville-Houston games, although I stayed away from the Jaguars when I put this together because I do think with Doug Peterson, that team will be a lot better.
They should be a lot
better. Not a playoff team, but
they're not going to be a basement dweller.
Right. No, we'll leave that for the Houston Texans because they're on the first game here, again, chronologically, September the 25th, going into Soldier Field to play,
the hapless, understaffed Bears.
Yeah, so you can tell we're not showing favoritism here.
No.
The Bears will appear again later on this list, too.
Next up, we're going October 30th. The Giants at the Seahawks.
Yeah, and I
2 potential bottom feeders.
Yeah, and Seattle will probably, I would think, be the bottom feeder in the West just because the NFC West is so tough, as we just mentioned.
Yep.
One of the toughest.
That and they're going with Geno Smith at
Or
this
Drew
point,
Lock.
or Drew Lock.
Yeah, we'll see what happens if Baker Mayfield gets traded. And I have no faith in the Giants, even with the new coach and the new GM.
Yeah, they've got a lot of ground to make up. So then you go to November 28th, the Commanders.
That's my bad writing because of my shaky back pain. So that's November the 20th. Yeah.
Sorry. And I don't have my glasses tonight, so.
We're all messed up here. Yeah,
So.
The Commanders at the Texans. Carson Wentz. That's the thing. I usually don't think of Washington as being that bad, but with Carson
Wentz is their starter. Come on.
And, of course, the Texans, poor Lovie Smith is stuck with the worst team in the league. Game 4 on our list of the 5 worst coming up this year. The Bears at the Jets, November the 27th.
God.
Sorry, don't have any faith in the Jets either.
That's going to be, what, a 9-6 game on the field goals?
Yeah, the weather might not be all that great either, late November.
Yeah.
So let's stick with a Jets home game for our 5th and final worst game of the year. December the 18th, again, could be bad weather. I'm sure by then both these teams will be out of it. The Lions, Detroit goes in
to
MetLife to play the Jets. Those are 5 stinkers. And again, we had to tried to pick stuff outside divisional rivalries. I mean, the Bears-Lions games are going to suck.
They're going to be horrible. No. You got the best against the best, and you got the worst against the worst.
Yeah. So there you go, kids. I hope that satisfies that small but vocal contingent of our audience out there that wanted us to break down the best and worst of the 22-23 NFL schedule. So a couple big stories from NCAA football to wrap up segment 3 here. Number 1, of course, the Nick Saban, Jimbo Fisher feud.
Back and forth and back. You
hypocrites.
Can't trust either of these
hypocrites.
two.
They're both hypocrites.
They both are. They're shelling out money one way or the other. It's just how they're spinning it.
I was just kind of shocked that Nick Saban was this vocal about it, to rip Jimbo Fisher call out Texas A&M by name, saying they, quote, bought every player.
Yeah, that was...
And then he also brought Deion Sanders into it, too.
Yeah.
So I saw a great tweet, not on Twitter. I don't do Twitter. But, somebody pointed it out, said, I can't wait when they do the next Affleck ad.
Oh, man.
And then, of course, October the 8th, you want to talk about a game to circle on the calendar like some of those NFL games we were just mentioning. October the 8th, Texas A&M goes into Tuscaloosa to play Alabama.
That should be a knockdown, drag out. We'll see if Jimbo
and A&M,
can
I think, beat Alabama last year, if I'm not mistaken.
They did. They squeaked by.
And, of course, Jimbo's response was calling Saban's quotes despicable and, of course, referring to him as God.
Yeah, well, that's not quite how we would respond to him. We've called him Satan forever.
But, yeah, this will make things interesting. But, of course, NCAA football is just slowly sinking into a even bigger sewer pit than they were already in with the NILs. And now you've got the big conferences grumbling and moaning.
They want to
be separate.
Big championship conference and then everybody else. And
yeah,
it's all a bunch of crap. The NCAA has been a joke forever, and they have completely lost control. And it's getting blown up, kids. And it's going to get worse before it can get better.
Agreed. Finally, kind of an ancillary point here that I missed last week. I forgot to bring it up. Yes, it happens every once in a while. In my copious notes, I do miss things. The Pac-12, based on a new NCAA ruling, immediately jumped on the fact that you no longer have to have divisions to crown a champion or have a championship game. The Pac-12 immediately said, fine, we're done. No divisions.
I like it.
The two best teams in the Pac-12
will play.
Yep. I would imagine we'll see that happen.
You know,
in a lot more conferences.
I like getting rid of the divisions because that so limits who you play year in and year out. You get to play everybody more often if you don't do this stupid-ass division system.
Yeah, you're not locked in like you said. You have to play everybody right. I hope the Big Ten is the one that really needs to get rid of divisions.
Oh, my God. They so have to get rid of divisions.
But, yeah, I know what you mean. That's a great point in that you don't have to play everybody in your division and then only occasionally play
somebody
teams from the other side. Yeah.
No, rotate everybody through. I mean, you've got your 2 or 3 games where you are going to play somebody every year because of the natural rivalries,
right?
Which should stay in play.
They will. Yeah, they will because it's too big of a moneymaker.
Yeah.
But all right, kids, that'll do it for segment 3. Segment 4 coming up. No moments of silence, but plenty of dumbasses. I will be playing Dumbass or Not with Dave.
We like this game.
Yes. A couple other tidbits to hit upon before we do that. When we come back for our 4th and final segment, stay tuned. We will be right back.
Hello, friends. Are you tired of the boring sports analysis you get from the major outlets? If so, join the Maestro and the Conquistador for a riveting discussion of all sports topics on Sports Frenzy 2.0. Available on Spotify, Google, Apple, and wherever podcasts are available.
All right, kids. 4th and final segment of Sports Frenzy 2.0 here on May 25th, 2022. I'm the Conquistador, Dave Height.
And I am the Maestro, Kevin Crane. You can hear we're in a different studio than normal as the rain patters against the window here.
Yep, lovely weather we're having. Not. Get it out of the way now in time for Memorial Day weekend. We can enjoy being outside.
That is right. A couple little tidbits here before we head into playing Dumbass or Not.
So, soccer. The United States men and women national teams have agreed to equally split all the World Cup bonuses that they would earn. One nation, one team. Sure, why not?
Yeah, if I cared about soccer, maybe I would care about this, but
yeah. You know what? That's great because the men's team, the men's World Cup makes all the money. The U.S. men's team sucks. The women's team has done everything and they don't get the pay. This bolsters them to where they should be. I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I agree. That's about the way I would sum it up to. A little bit of media news here before we move on to the Red Foreman dumbasses. It is official now. Greg Olsen will be the #1 Fox NFL analyst at least for a year before Tom Brady steps in with his mega contract. So yep. Good for Greg Olsen.
I like it. Gets him the chance to cut his teeth a little bit more, be the #1 guy so he can move on and get the next mega deal.
Yep. And of course, as we mentioned last week, I believe it was, Drew Brees is being strongly mentioned to take over as the #2. #2 seems fitting, given how bad he was last year.
Exactly.
And then Al Michaels just won't leave NBC Sports. They can't quit him. He has been given an emeritus role at NBC Sports, which means he can jump in on Olympic coverage or occasionally even, I think he's going to do one NFL playoff game for them this year.
You know, if they ever did anything with hockey, he is the guy who should do hockey for NBC because he is a huge hockey guy and used to do games.
Very cool. I always liked Al. I think he's one of the best, if not the best, play-by-play guys out there. Now, I, of course, like Joe Buck as well. But that being said, hopefully this will be the end of the revolving chairs, the silly season for the media for now.
For now, we'll wait until like 2 weeks before the season starts and something else will blow up.
All right, time to play the favorite game of the Conquistador. Here in the Red Foreman Dumbasses of the Week segment, it is time to play Dumb Ass or Not. I have 5 dumbasses for Dave to evaluate. And he can make the choice. Are they dumbasses? Are they not? And in a couple of these, who
in the story
is the dumbass?
Or are they both? Or neither?
There you go. Let's start off with this one. This is very interesting. Jake Sanford, minor leaguer, cut by the New York Yankees because he was obsessed with other players' equipment.
Not that equipment.
No, we're not going back to that like at the beginning of this show. But he was cut because there were accusations he was stealing equipment.
Stealing batting gloves, baseball mitts, bats.
He would harass other players on the team. If he couldn't get them to give the stuff over freely, he would steal it, and then he would sell it online. And then there were complaints by some of the people that bought it that he would not send them the merchandise after receiving payment.
Yep. Guy's a scumbag dumbass.
Yeah, that one was pretty easy.
He needs to ride into a jail cell for all of that.
Yeah, that one. I'll give you a softball on that one. Not a baseball.
That's
a
a lead in. That's a big 18-inch softball right there.
This one I love. This is my favorite of the dumbass stories this week. But I will let you decide if it's actually just unfortunate or there is a dumbass involved here. We don't really talk all that much about bicycling, maybe occasionally the Tour de France, especially if there's a scandal involved. There is a bike race called the Giro d'Italia that was just recently held. Stage winner got a bottle of Prosecco. Of course, we're in Italy.
Right.
To celebrate his stage win. His name was Biniam Germay. I hope I'm not butchering his name. But what happened to him was much worse than me butchering his name because he popped the cork on the Prosecco and it went right into his eye.
Oh!
And it forced him out for the remainder of the Giro d'Italia. There's video out there of this too, kids.
It's an unfortunate situation, but the guy was a dumbass for opening it at that time.
And obviously pointing it right at his face.
Yeah, dude, learn how to open a bottle. My God. That in Italy, isn't that like something you learn at the age of 5, how to properly open a bottle?
You would think, yeah. The kids are drinking wine at the dinner table.
Yeah,
so.
That's a pure dumbass move.
All right, now this one's personal for me. You guys know I hate America's political climate right now. I can't stand it. I think the media is so disgusting in how they try to manipulate us and get us divided and cause us to hate one another. And CBS's coverage of the PGA Championship was no exception. I believe this was Saturday, could have been Sunday's coverage, but early on in the coverage, CBS had to do a feature piece. Instead of letting us watch golf, had to do a feature piece about a 100-year-old incident that happened in Oklahoma, nearby where they were playing the tournament, the PGA Championship, about a massacre of black people by white people in an area they called Black Wall Street.
Yep, the Tulsa.
There you go.
Yep.
Why do we need to be subjected to this during a sporting event? Again, it seems to be a constant pattern. Should we learn about this? Yes. Should we be ashamed of it? Yes. Not in the middle of a sporting event where we're trying to escape the everyday woes that, again, the media seems to love to thrust upon us. Leave it alone. Let it be taught in schools. Let people read about it at their local library. Don't stick it in the middle of what's supposed to be a diversion for us on the weekend.
Amen to that. The hell with CBS. The hell with the media.
This was fun. Not quite as fun as the Prosecco incident, but Jack Nicklaus is being sued by Nicklaus Companies.
What? I know.
Jack Nicklaus being sued in a $145 million breach of contract lawsuit dating back to 2007. I guess the Golden Bear got a $145 million contract back then to do various, duties for this company.
His company?
Well, he's not. I think his son is a VP possibly. But they're saying that he did not follow through on what he was supposed to do in terms of the promotions and the things that were involved in him signing this deal back in 2007. And they pointed to that story we talked about last week where he said he was offered $100 million from the Saudi League.
Right.
Somehow they're saying that was not appropriate. He would have had to have consulted them first, even though he didn't take the money.
It was offered. He didn't take it. It's none of their damn business if he was offered it.
Again, I am not a lawyer. I don't know what's involved in this contract, but I just find it a typical, unbelievable, dumbass business stunt in this day and age that Jack Nicklaus is being sued by Nicklaus Companies.
Yeah, that's really freaking stupid.
Then finally, this one's been all over the news the last couple days. This is going to be the one where we have to decide dumbass for both, one or the other, or neither. I don't think it's going to be neither in this case, but former Bronco player Brendan Langley, now in the CFL, got into an altercation with the United Airlines employee when he used a wheelchair instead of paying for a cart to take his luggage up to the checkout counter. Now, the employee went a little bit too far and basically slapped Langley, even if this was a huge breach of protocol for him to use the wheelchair. You don't strike somebody over it. And then, of course, Langley made sure that people were around and witnessing what happened. And then he went hauled off on the guy. But then the United Airlines employee bounced back and said, "Do you want to go? You want to fight?"
They are both dumbasses. But the biggest dumbass is the United Airline employee for slapping him for using a wheelchair. If there wasn't a cart there, nobody was using the wheelchair. Is it really that big a frickin' deal?
I don't know, but I agree with you. An overreaction.
A major overreaction and escalation by the dumbass employee of United Airlines. And then this Langley didn't do himself any favors by being the dumbass and hauling off and slugging the guy back.
So double dumbass?
Double dumbass.
All right, kids. That's going to do it for Sports Frenzy 2.0 this week. He's a Conquistador, Dave Height.
He's the maestro, Kevin Crane.
Thanks for hanging out with us. Dave doesn't have his glasses. I am in extreme back pain, but somehow we still gave you an awesome episode this week.
Stay tuned. Check out the weekend edition in time for Memorial Day.
That's right. Make sure you check us out on all of our usual haunts: Spotify, Anchor, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Breaker, Apple, Overcast, Castbox, and Stitcher! Wow, that hurt my back. Okay. We'll check you out on the weekend edition, as Dave said. And then, of course, right back here next week for more sports talk, criticism, and commentary. Take care, kids. Have a great Memorial Day.